welcome back to
Yes.
Triple Threat, Snap Out with Ginger Griffin and Alex Hensky. And
We're so happy to be here with you guys.
thanks for joining us for another week. We're really glad you are on this journey with us, and we're looking forward to step 4, which is what we're going to be going over today.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Okay, but Alex, before we started, I was telling you that I'm going to need your help on this one. I've sort of been putting this step off a little bit.
Talk to me.
Because it is dealing with your emotions.
Okay.
Okay,
It's a big one.
I know. I don't like this one because I don't like emotions.
Wait, what does that stem from? What do you think that is?
Okay, I think that people have different personalities and propensities for whether they tend to be a thinker or a feeler. So here's how you know. Okay.
Oh, okay. Tell us. Okay.
I was thinking about, I've done all these personality assessments because as a psychology major and then getting a graduate degree in psychology, I was interested in the study of human behavior. But here's how you can know for yourself as a listener or a viewer, whether you're a thinker or a feeler. And again, now this is labeling and judging, like putting people in categories, but it sort of helps a little bit.
Yeah.
Ask the question, what do I want for dinner? If you're at a restaurant, for example.
Okay.
I feel like pizza. I feel like a steak. I feel like eating vegetables. Okay? Versus,
I'm with you.
I think I want, or I would like, if you ask yourself certain questions, then however you respond, either in your mind or with your voice, reveals whether you have a propensity or a tendency to be a thinker or a feeler. So you can also ask your opinion about something. What do you think about the television show blah, blah, blah? Well, I think it's great. How do you feel about the television show? I think it's great, right? So my answers are always, I think. I think this, I think that, I believe this. I don't say I feel very often.
Okay. That's so interesting. Okay.
I know. Okay, so that's how you can. So Alex, did you, what's your favorite Netflix show? And we're not sponsoring or promoting anything.
No. So lately my hyperfixation show, the one that you watch when you're like winding down, is Modern Family.
Okay.
It makes me feel very comforted.
See? I think you're a feeler.
I'm for sure a feeler.
Right. That's why I need your help on this, because it has to do with emotions and feelings.
Well, this is why I think you and I balance each other so nicely, because you are something I really love about you is your decisiveness. And it's something that I really work on. And so to be surrounded by decisive people is really helpful for me, because I am such an emotional person who does a lot with my feelings. So to be with someone who is compassionate but is a thinker is very helpful in this relationship. I'm very grateful for it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful for me because being able to quickly tie up my emotions. I mean, it's not like I don't have feelings. I do.
Of course.
But to be able to tie them up and put them in a little box and put them up on the shelf and not deal with them has been very helpful.
I'm sure, especially as a lawyer, that's really helpful. You kind of have to disconnect your emotions so often in law.
Okay. Well, so here I want to tell a story, but this is a very difficult story for me to tell, and I feel like right now is the time to do it. Okay, so here's my not easy to listen to and not easy to talk about story about one of the most difficult emotions I've ever experienced in my life. Obviously, we've talked about the emotion of fear and the emotion of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
But a tremendous loss that I experienced helped me become a lawyer. So here's the story. When I was pregnant with my firstborn, she came into this world, and my first child made me a mother.
Mm-hmm.
That same child made me the lawyer that I am today by not communicating with me in any way on her 18th birthday. It was the most difficult day of my entire life. And I can tell you a little bit more about the backstory of that, but that child who made me a mother in 2002 made me a lawyer in 2020 before I ever sat for the bar exam.
Wow.
Because the day that I had anticipated, her 18th birthday, that I had planned for more than 18 years, I had journaled about, I had put together little gifts and stories and an entire party for celebrating the day that my firstborn, turned 18, didn't reach out to me in any way on that day. In fact, I haven't heard from her for almost 8 years now.
Wow.
And that's a completely separate topic that we will talk about on this podcast, how to be a parent in the rejected position during a child custody dispute is one of the most devastating experiences a parent can undergo. But that young woman who had the compassion to live her life without me on the day that she turned 18 taught me how to take my devastated emotion of complete annihilation. It just almost destroyed me that day. And I army crawled my way through the day, and it was 6 days before I sat for the bar exam. I could not allow the complete avalanche of feelings and devastating loss to stop me from doing what I knew that I was partly on this planet to do, which was to pass the California bar exam, because I needed to become a lawyer to help other parents go through the experience that I went through, which is to be the parent in the rejected position during a custody dispute. So that's where my special niche is with regard to my law practice. And there's been many children that have been reunited with their parents as a result of the consequences of the loss that I suffered. But Alex, that day I woke up expecting to hear from her. And for some reason, the artist who was formerly known as Prince's song Purple Rain kept going through my mind. I reached out to a friend and said, I'm worried that I'm not going to hear from her today. I hadn't heard from her in 6 months at that point. And I was very concerned about the pattern of what happens with children that are put into an untenable position when parents are in custody disputes. And I know what happens with those children. And I know that in order to survive, they have to cut ties with the parent that they know will not reject them no matter what. And so I was that parent. And she may have a different narrative, and I welcome her to share her experience. But that day was so difficult for me that I think I waited until around 12 or 1, and I knew I needed to do my bar review, and I knew that I needed to suck up and pull up my bootstraps. And for the benefit of the people that I would help in the future, I had to get it together and put my emotions in a box, tie the string, and put that box up on the shelf to deal with at a later date. And we'll talk about in step 5 how to continue when the emotions flood later in one's life. But in the viewer and the listener's world, they can take, I hope that you as the listener and the viewer can take a page from my book in terms of taking a very difficult experience and putting it into a container and putting it away momentarily in order to deal with it at a later date can help others as well. Even though it wasn't easy, it was easier for me than it might be if I were a feeling type of person, if that were my natural propensities. But it is something that people can do. And it's a technique that I've used and I've continued to use as a lawyer now, because I deal with these gut-wrenching custody disputes on a daily basis. And so having set boundaries and lifestyle tricks and tools that I use to keep my emotions at bay and to be able to address them at a more appropriate time has become a life lesson that I then can now teach my clients, because they all go through something similar to what I've experienced. It's not the same as a death of a child, but I've experienced the death of children as well. The loss of children is one of the most difficult experiences that we can suffer on this planet. And so I believe I can speak from experience when I say that I've been through the dark night of the soul and more than once, and walked through it with the support of the tools that we teach during this podcast, but also the support of loved ones in order to get to the other side of joy and grief. Now, that's my story. I don't know if you'll use it or not, but that's what I wanted to share and be vulnerable about with regard to dealing with emotions. And now, Alex, I want you to share about how you went through your journey, especially the difficult season, and how did you deal with your emotions since you tend to be more of a feeler?
Well, first I want to say thank you for sharing. I know it's really vulnerable, and I think one of the biggest things I want to commend you on is, I think especially as a feeler, what you're describing, I know that is like, logically, I know that is a way to survive and handle things that come your way that are seemingly overwhelming and devastating. As a feeler, what was the most challenging thing for me is learning how to do what you just described without making it because there's a difference between what you're describing and what shoving something down is, right?
Okay.
Which is what I would do. It's ignoring it. It's not what you described to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you acknowledge what this is. You understand how big and awful it is. You're not trying to forget it. You're trying to set it in a place where you can still function as a human, handle what you need to handle, and at a later time you will pull that out and you will deal with it in the way that you need to deal with it.
Let me interrupt you, because the body remembers. The body keeps the score. Okay, totally. There's a fantastic book I'm rereading by Bessel van der Kolk, MD, who has a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And so I already know that my body will remember the trauma of the loss and separation, of perceived separation and abandonment of my child. However, I interrupted you, and I apologize about that.
No. It's okay.
I also know cognitively that I must process that emotion.
Right.
And so now, let me just say this last part. Yeah. Now I process that emotion, the emotion of the devastating loss of the relationship temporarily, because I want to feel it and process it, even so that my daughter doesn't have to, because I want to carry that load, that grief, that perceived separation. I want to carry it. I want to feel it through my body. I want to process it and let it go. Yeah. In the hope that maybe by my doing that, she won't have to, or it will be so much more subdued for her, because the sacrifice she made in not having a relationship with me as her mother has been so heroic in order to survive and in order to keep a relationship with the person that she's having to pledge allegiance to.
Yeah.
I commend her for her tremendous courage and strength in so doing. All right. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I wanted to get that point in. Okay. Yeah. Back to what you were saying about pushing things down. So, Alex, tell me the example, if you will. Yeah. I was vulnerable, and I wondered whether I should even talk about it. But
no, I feel that.
Tell me an example of how you have tried to process an emotion, but in actuality, you were trying to push it down.
To kind of piggyback off of your example, probably the biggest challenge in my life, the hardest thing that I've had to deal with is the separation from my parents, and I more specifically my mother, because my mom and we talked every day. I've shared briefly, I think on episode 1, maybe 2, that I came out later in life because I knew that I would lose the relationship with my parents. It was the one thing keeping me in the closet, because I loved them so much. And my mom was everything: friend, mother, my sounding board, my biggest champion. And I knew that this thing that I was going to be the thing that separated us. So
wait, hang on a second. This thing that you was,
this thing that I am,
were, the thing that you are. No, your identity.
Yeah, I knew that my identity.
It's not the thing that you are, your identity. So in other words, you're going to be rejected for being yourself, for authentically aligning, right? Yeah. You knew in advance that you were going to be rejected because you were authentically aligning.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. So I stayed in that closet till I was 31. I just passed my 5-year anniversary of living authentically. And that's exactly what happened. When I came out, to be very honest and candid with all of you, I came out to my parents in a video because I didn't know how to speak to them, and I didn't want to send a text message. So I recorded a little, it was 7-minute video, and I sent it to them. Didn't hear anything for 2 days. And then my mom replied and said, "I have nothing to say to that, but I'll always love you." And it was hard because I knew it was going to happen, but it was I realized a part of me almost wanted to fight. I wanted more of a reaction from her, to be able to argue my side and have something there. But instead it was just met with that simple text message. And even to this day, it's still my greatest challenge. Now, what happened in that is I had already started therapy. I was being shown and taught the lesson of what you just described, which is it's going to hurt, it's going to be hard, but it's not going to bring you down. You just have to learn where to place it so that you can live. I didn't, with all that preparation, even so, did not know how. I did not know how to compartmentalize that. I let it rule everything.
When you say it, I'm sorry to do this to you. This is the lawyer in me. Don't use a pronoun. What do you mean by it? When you tried to compartmentalize it, what is it?
Yeah, I was trying to compartmentalize the pain of the rejection and the separation of me and my mother.
Okay.
And I did everything I could to distract it. I got into a relationship that I needed to go through, and I have met you because of it. So there's like a big silver lining. And this is a great testament to going through some hard stuff results in, here's the reason. And then until I was ready to really, really face it and joined that self-help program that I did talk about in episode 1, that really made me face it with some intense therapy. And,
when I was face it.
The fear, the hurt.
Yes.
When I was
the fear, the hurt, the pain, the devastating loss, the rejection,
all of that.
Yes.
And really didn't know that I did not see at that time. I could not see a future where we would ever find a way back to each other. And I am now, in this day, right now, on the beginning of July in 2026, have hope that my mother and I will find our way back to each other. We talk now maybe just casually through texts every couple months. I did see them last year in the summer, and I think the tools I have and the way that I'm able to look at her with compassion and understand that like she's doing the best she can with the tools she has given me a lot of grace for the situation.
Yes.
And I will be honest about the real only fear that comes up now is I just lost my grandfather a couple months ago, my mom's dad. So I guess, I did see her for the funeral. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you can't help but face the thought, like, what if it never happens? What if we actually do never find our way back? Because time is fleeting and life is so short. So that's the fear I can still like pick out, but I have certainly taken that fear and that hurt off the shelf. I have processed it. It is still very difficult to talk about, honestly. But me now compared to me 5 years ago, completely different.
Okay.
Totally able to process a lot better.
Yes. And I want to delve into that because it's the processing of emotions that is a critical part of these steps, and doing the processing in a healthy, safe way is an important aspect of step 5. So we'll get into that. But I do want to stay on step 4 and the emotion of fear that you touched on.
Yeah.
Because fear, and this isn't original with me, but fear is false evidence appearing real.
Whoa! I have never heard that. I have never heard that before.
All right. Well, it's not original with me, but let's talk about that because if fear is false evidence appearing real, then what can we use as an antidote to fear? Alex, I ask you.
Facts.
Okay. Oh, that's really good.
Okay.
Yes, facts. Okay, and I have another F word.
Okay, let's go.
That is also, and I have another F word that can be used as an antidote to fear. So we have the word facts, F-A-C-T-S. Think of another one.
Another F word.
Yes.
Antidote to fear. I don't know why the word future keeps popping in my head, but it's not future.
That's true. It has to do with the future because generally fear is false evidence appearing real about the future.
Correct. Yeah. It's anticipatory. Okay.
Right. But okay.
Tell me.
What is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen?
Oh, faith.
According to the biblical. Right.
Faith.
Okay. So let's delve into that.
Okay.
Fear, false evidence appearing real. But let's look at the facts. and let's have faith. Okay. And I'm not ascribing to any religious institution. There can be faith in a person's self, for example.
Yes.
Faith in the person's higher power, faith in God, faith in the universe, faith in source, faith in one's authentic alignment of who a person is authentically. Okay.
Yeah.
So if fear is false evidence appearing real, which can cause an emotion, okay, of sadness or anger or grief that one needs to process in his or her body, can we not use our tools that we've learned so far, step 1, 2, and 3, and we'll go over that, to help deal with the fear? Okay, just a quick review. Step 1, identify the limiting beliefs. These are thoughts in our mind. Step 2, identify the maladaptive behavior that you want to change, that has been serving you very well for the season that you used the maladaptive behavior for. Step 3, what is the cause? With compassion for oneself, get curious. How did that behavior or that thought serve you? Are you ready to come out of the cage? Picture a bird cage, right? With golden bars, like a dome-shaped bird cage.
Yep.
Are you ready to bend those bars and forge your way out using the key made of golden iron or whatever that you're learning from this podcast in order to set oneself free and to fly out of that cage? Are you ready? If the behavior is not serving you anymore, eating a pint of ice cream when you get home after a date that didn't go well, or whatever maladaptive behavior is being used, if that behavior is not serving you well, let's consider being curious about it with radical compassion for oneself. Let's process the emotion that behavior has been masking. That behavior's been numbing. And if you're like I am, the thinker, and you run screaming from having to deal with your emotions, I'm going to challenge you. Or if you're the feeler like Alex, who pushes it down, and doesn't deal with it until it becomes an explosion, I'm also going to challenge you. And without labeling ourselves as I'm a thinker, I'm a feeler, and without saying I'm a left brain or a right brain, let's integrate everything, because as human beings, we have all aspects of ourselves.
Right.
Within ourselves.
Yeah.
You can use your left
spectrum.
brain. Correct. And like we learned about when we talked with Padro Harris and Jimmy Locust and Ryan Perry Marks, we have left and right brains that can integrate through the corpus callosum and allow the body to self-regulate.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about how to regulate oneself in this episode, because this has to do with the emotions and processing the emotions. And then step 5, spoiler, is dealing with that for the rest of your life, because you're going to have storms and you're going to go through experiences that are going to require you to deal with those, identify the belief, identify the behavior, look at the cause, and with compassion, be curious about whether it's still serving you. And if you're ready to release it, then you have to deal with those emotions. Now, how to safely do that?
Yeah.
Well, there are practitioners that a person can follow that enable the person dealing with their emotions to process them in a safe way. We've talked about in the past having a witness.
Yeah.
Not an accountability partner, a witness, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference in an accountability partner? Don't think that way about yourself.
Right.
That's not how. And a witness. I'm here with you while you process. What's the difference between an accountability partner and a witness? Just spell it out again, Alex, for the listener and the viewer.
An accountability partner is someone that you kind of give permission to step in and interfere if you're doing something against your whatever you're trying to grow into, whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
A witness, I think a witness probably feels a little safer in those situations because it's someone that is judgment free, who is just there to hold your hand, essentially.
I love that you said a witness feels safer. I think a witness is safer.
Okay. Yeah.
You feel it.
I didn't even realize it.
I know.
Witness
I
feels
love it.
safer. Oh, that's
See?
funny. Yeah,
It
it's
works.
natural. It does.
Yes. So having a witness or having a person, even a journal, but generally having either a mental health professional or a trusted friend or a family member support system of some sort helps a person safely go through the processing of emotions. And without endorsing any specific modality, Let me just say that somatic experiencing, which was created by Dr. Peter Levine, is one cutting edge, innovative way of processing one's emotions with a somatic experiencing practitioner, because the person gets really in touch, somatic body, soma body, right? The person gets in touch with one's body and determines where in the body is there perhaps some pain or discomfort or illness or dis-ease, right? My shoulders are tight. I feel a tension in my neck, right? Well, living with chronic stress can cause the shoulders to be tight and a tension in one's neck. Well, if you're sitting in the room with a practitioner that can help you identify the feeling in the body that can be attached to a thought, then the person, without using words, can actually pay attention to the feeling in the body, then release that thought or replace that thought with something that is more productive and constructive for managing life's trials and tribulations. And
challenges, yeah.
Right. Another modality that can be used, and I don't necessarily ascribe to this one, is EMDR. And that's that rapid eye movement thing.
Yeah.
Which I did after my father died. I think I shared that in a previous podcast. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the modality that I've used in the past. Cognitive means brain. Behavioral is what behaviors are being used, therapy. But it's still a talk therapy. And like we talked about in the episode where we explained the neuroscience and what happens in the brain, talking about trauma or perceived threat causes the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response, like we discussed. And it lights up that part of the brain. And so a person doesn't really process the emotions that are attached to whatever event occurred. Now I want to talk briefly about trauma. But before we move into trauma, because that's a big buzzword in the community and people have all these associations with the word trauma, what do you say or have? What comments do you have about what we discussed already regarding the emotions that a person will need to go through in order to successfully navigate his or her life without numbing the painful emotions using maladaptive behaviors, Alex? Specifically thinking about what dots need to still be connected with regard to processing emotions before we move into discussing trauma and how trauma and emotions are related.
You have to acknowledge the feeling is coming from somewhere and figure out where that feeling's coming from in order
What if you don't know where the feeling's coming from? What if step 3, what's the cause? What if you don't know?
That's a tricky question, because I do feel like some traumas or pain can be so deep that you don't know, like you're triggered by something, but you don't know why are you being triggered by that thing. Correct?
Okay, that's a perfect segue. Let's identify the difference between trauma and emotion.
Okay.
Trauma is an event.
Trauma is an event. Right. Yes.
It happened in the past.
Yeah.
If a person is still living with that traumatic event in their mind, then they have not processed the emotions that's attached to the trauma.
Right.
Okay? A traumatic event happened. There's no question that a traumatic event happened in the past. The key is in the past. How do you deal with the emotion that is attached to the trauma that happened in the past? Well, before you can even deal with the emotion that's attached to the trauma that happened in the past, you have to determine if there was an emotion attached to the trauma that happened in the past, because the body sometimes dissociates during the trauma. Think about children who have experienced sexual abuse, for example.
Yeah.
What is dissociation? They leave their bodies.
Yeah.
Literally, they dissociate, their brains split so that they don't, if the trauma is so difficult, and this happens with prisoners of war and people who've gone through war, veterans that come home after having experienced atrocities, they can split, dissociate, so that they can not have to process the emotions, the extreme emotions that are attached to the horrific event, right?
Right.
Okay. But what happens with the emotions, whether they're being dissociated and not felt because the mind has split away from the body, or they are being pushed down? Those emotions are still stored in the body.
Yeah.
Okay. The event happens. As human beings, we experience the event. An emotion is attached, whether we are dissociating or not. If a person's body is being violated in a sexual way, They're going to feel it in their body. Maybe their mind doesn't even acknowledge it, but their body keeps the score. Just like Bessel van der Kolk talks about.
Okay, yeah.
So that memory is stored in the body. The emotion is trapped in the body. It may not have a verbal outlet. It may not even have a thought associated with it. What happens to that emotion? Well, if it's not processed, it lives there and then creates eventually dis-ease, disease, right?
100%.
So in order for us as 70 to 90% water has a memory. Look at the Hidden Messages in Water, the book that we referred to before by Emoto, E-M-O-T-O. The memory of the water in the body at the cellular level is real.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's going to come up. If it doesn't come up, it will produce some sort of disease, dysfunction in a way that has to be addressed later in the future. So why not be proactive and prophylactic about dealing with these emotions that are remembered in the body in order to be fully healthy and snap out of one's limiting beliefs and behaviors and into one's true, authentic self. Now, let's say you consciously don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it. Like me, like I didn't want to deal with those emotions. In fact, in order to build a law firm, starting in the middle of the COVID pandemic up into today at present, I had to keep the emotion of the devastating loss. I had to keep that packed away. And I only allowed myself to bring that emotional box down off the shelf and process it a little bit at a time through the help of practitioners and also my own knowledge of psychology. And I would process those emotions a little bit at a time. Peter Levine calls that titration, which is just allowing a little bit of emotion to be processed at a time so that a person is not overwhelmed with an avalanche of grief, for example. If you are experiencing mental health crises or difficulties, please get professional help. Call 911. Get someone who can help you if you are in a situation where you feel as though you might be gravely disabled and overwhelmed with either depression or another form of emotion that is causing some sort of debilitation. Please.
Yes.
But back to what to do. So the traumatic event happened in the past, Alex.
Yep.
You can either continue thinking about it and identifying with the trauma. I am the victim of such and such. I am a survivor of such and such. Or you can snap out of it and create your alignment with your true identity. And that's part of step 5, because a person is not defined by the traumatic event that they experienced in the past, unless they want to continue to be in oppression and cages and in chains. So I challenge you as a listener and as a viewer, decide, do you want to snap out of those limiting beliefs, of that maladaptive behavior, of the identification of yourself as a victim of or as a survivor of such and such trauma? Or do you want to stay in chains? I could have stayed in chains. Oh, I'm the mother of children who were caught in a loyalty conflict and chose to align with the parent that they knew would reject them if they did not align with that parent. I could tell myself that that's my identity and I could live that way and bemoan that story from now into perpetuity. Or I could snap out of it and realize that my children, my daughter and the other 2 who are both in a similar situation, chose to come to this earth, to the family that they were going to have to experience a very difficult choice. And in order to align with their authentic selves, created a reality for themselves that is part of their identity. And so I choose to believe that my identity is in as a liberator, even though I don't want to have labels. I choose to identify as someone who helps others liberate themselves. And then now I share this on a platform that gives me anxiety sometimes to be this vulnerable, especially at a professional level, because my colleagues could see this podcast and judge me. The viewers could decide I must be doing something. What did I do to create that with my child and children? Or I can choose to believe and create my own authentic, aligned personality, which is I'm someone who's willing to be vulnerable on a platform in order to help set other people free from their invisible chains.
Yeah.
And Alex, you're doing the same thing.
I'm certainly trying.
Well, think about all the people in similar situations that have had to lean on your experience in order to align with their authenticity, and how important it is to be true to oneself. What was it like before, Alex, when you couldn't be authentic?
It was really scary. It was exhausting to wake up every day and you spoke on this in the previous episode, but code switching was such a big part of my reality.
Well, say more about code switching, because somebody might not have seen the podcast with Jimmy Locust and Ryan Perry Marks. Tell us more. What is code switching?
Code switching refers to, so in my case, as a closeted gay man, I would code switch when I was around anyone outside of myself to appear more straight passing. So the way I would walk, the way I would talk.
A code is an app that runs, let me interrupt you. A code is the app that runs in the back of your mind, the committee that tells you how to talk and how to act.
Correct.
In front of a certain audience. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So I made sure that I did not realize till coming out how much code switching I would do and how exhausting it is to be constantly thinking about the way you're speaking, your mannerisms, your walk, your reactions, the way you laugh. All of this was something that I did constantly for 31 years. And it was exhausting. It was scary to live like that.
Sure. And my peers and my colleagues in the African American community do the same thing here 100%. In America.
100%.
Oh, is my hair too much? Am I dressed too much? Am I going to be accepted? Am I too loud? This is what my friends say. And it is exhausting. And guess what? I have had to code switch my whole life too.
Why? Why? Please tell me.
Well, I grew up in the Deep South. For the first 15 years of my life, I was trained to think a certain way. Yeah. And to think like they do. In fact, I was trained that it's called the War of Northern Aggression.
Whoa.
The War of Northern Aggression.
The War of Northern Aggression. Wait, what is that? Can you talk on that for a sec?
Well, darling, it's the Civil War, don't you know?
Oh, right. But of course.
No, but I'm serious about the code switching because I moved to Los Angeles, which is a very different culture.
Yeah.
And rejected by certain family members as a result, because God forbid I might start thinking like those Californians.
Oh, don't I know it? Right?
But guess what? I don't think like others. I think like myself. I'm authentically aligned with myself. In fact, even in law school, I came from a different, I looked at cases that had gone up to the Supreme Court differently than some of my peers and my colleagues. And so I was immediately identified in class. Well, Virginia, what did the so-and-so side say? What did the dissent say? Or what do you think about whatever opinion? And I would say, well, here's what the dissent said. And I wouldn't allow myself to be labeled. I still try not to be labeled. People say, well, which party do you vote for? Or, what is your religious belief, et cetera, et cetera. Even though in the first podcast, I talked about my labels in terms of what my careers are, I really don't want to be labeled or identified in a certain way that causes confirmation bias. Do you know what confirmation bias is? I digress.
No, please. I mean, I feel like I do, but I don't know how to define it. Articulate it.
Well, okay. Well. A bias is a predisposition toward thinking a certain way.
Okay, yes.
Confirmation bias means that a person filters information that they receive from their senses to confirm their own biases. Okay, is biases a word? Biases. So in other words, if a person has a thought pattern that may be a limiting belief from their past or their family of origin or the community in which they grow up, and they perceive something, then generally the thought is filtered through the person's own mind, and then they either reject or accept thoughts that confirm their own predispositions and pre-existing thought patterns. So that's why I feel like this podcast is so challenging, because it really requires us to think about what is the origin of that belief? Yeah. Where did it come from? Do we really want to continue thinking that way? How far is it going to get you if you think that way because you were told to think that way?
Right.
Right?
Right. Wow.
Okay. I just want to quickly go back to the word emotion.
Okay.
So, I've heard it explained that emotion is E for energy, motion, energy in motion. And I haven't thoroughly researched that yet, but
Okay.
I believe it has to do with allowing the emotion to flow through the body rather than getting stuck.
Yeah.
And so what are some good ways of processing the emotions that are coming up for us if we're feelers, or that we've tried to box away as if we're thinkers? And so just to give a little preview of step 5, processing emotions can be done in a way that requires motion. So walking, hiking, jogging, dancing, running, playing, biking,
Literally
swimming.
shaking it out. Yeah, just movement, 100%.
Movement. That helps process emotions in the body, and can also help regulate the body. Focused attention on something can also help. Go ahead.
That's what I was going to say to that. Yes,
explain.
What you just described is an exercise I was taught that works very well for me as a feeler. If I start to feel something and I stop, I set myself back and I feel where it's coming from in my body. I listen. I try to find it. Is it an anxiety that's happening? Where is it sitting? Is it in my chest? Is it in my stomach? Am I, like you said earlier, am I tensing my shoulders up? Acknowledging it, realizing it, and letting it process through has been like huge for me in being able to process an emotion.
How do you let it process through, Alex?
For me, I breathe through it. So I take really deep breath. I do 10 really deep breaths of 3 seconds in through the nose, 3 seconds out through the mouth. And not always. I will repeat that step if I need to, but most of the time by the end of that, I have calmed myself in my mind. I've been able to say, like, this too shall pass, and let it work itself out. And then the reason I did this is because whenever I'm processing
when you
an
say
emotion,
this, what about the listeners that can't see us?
I'm shaking my body, kind of like in a crazy, wild way, like the Wiggles from back in the day.
Yeah.
So when I will always do that to get just work the energy out of my body, because you got to just it has to go somewhere, or it will sit inside of you and cause dis-ease.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like we talked about the rabbit that is caught by the coyote and then shakes to release the hormones that have sent the adrenaline through the body. So let's look at what you just discussed with regard to movement and also breathing based on what we've learned from the neuroscience. Okay. What does the breathing 3 seconds in, or I've heard 4 seconds in, hold it for 4, 7 seconds out, in through the nose, out through the mouth. What does the breathing do to the nervous system?
I think it helps regulate it. It must, because that is what it feels like is happening.
Exactly. And since the body is listening to the mind and the experience of what's happening around it, the body has a memory, the body is nonverbal. It tells the body, the breathing tells the body that it is safe. Because if you're being chased by a tiger, you're not going to breathe slowly, all right?
No.
So if a person, and that's why meditation is helpful, and yoga is helpful, and breathing exercises are helpful, because it tells the body it's safe. Then the body can stop having the amygdala process, start firing off the hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, etc., that creates the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. So it calms the system. It calms the nervous system. It allows the left and right hemisphere of the brain to regulate over the corpus callosum. It helps the body self-soothe, and the body can heal itself if it is given the tools, which is part of the motive of this podcast, because our bodies are amazing, and our bodies that have been able to keep us safe, and the behaviors that have kept us safe, can also set us free and set our bodies free, so that our bodies can become healthy and healed again. And that's a little outside the scope, but we may do another season on that. So just to summarize, with regard to the emotions, if you're a thinker or if you're a feeler or if you're neither or you're both, the identification of the emotion and allowing it to move through the body is a key aspect to step 4. So step 4 is to identify the emotion and process that emotion, whether quickly through the help of a support system and support team, or very slowly in little teeny segments so that you can still function on a daily basis. Processing those emotions is key to health and well-being because the emotions are stored in the body, as we talked about. The body has a memory. The body keeps the score, aka Bessel van der Kolk, MD. And if we can stand on his shoulders and the shoulders of other giants like Peter Levine, who created somatic experiencing, we can heal ourselves. The body can heal itself as well. And so in step 5, we'll talk a little bit more about the journey and how using different techniques and tools enable a person to fully integrate. But as we stay focused here on step 4, processing those emotions, feeling those emotions, stay with us and send us your comments because we're here and we would like to walk this journey with you so that as you experience your emotions, we can feel them too. Even I will go through, I'll help feel them.
Hey, we
I'll help feel them.
Couple empaths over here.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
Amazing.
So thank you so much for tuning in again and listening and viewing. Thank you, Alex, for your vulnerability and your willingness to share. And let's continue snapping out.
We're here with you. And Ginger, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. It's so impactful and powerful and a great reminder that we are all humans on this journey, and to have you create this platform to kind of hold people's hands and give encouragement is so powerful. And thank you all for listening and watching. As Ginger said, please remember to rate, like, subscribe. It's so those of you that have, thank you so much. Like we're seeing a great return right now, and it's exciting to see the build happening. So thank you so much. And we will talk to you and see you again next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.